parents planned a secret Christmas trip without me. Let that selfish one spend the holidays alone, they told my cousin. A week later, they regretted it bitterly when I found out by accident. It was my cousin, Melissa, who let it slip. We were catching up over coffee when she asked, "So, are you excited for the trip?" I frowned. "What trip?" She tilted her head. "The Christmas trip. The one your parents booked for the whole family." The whole family. Except me. I laughed, because I didn't know what else to do. "Yeah, they didn't tell me about that." Melissa's face fell. "Wait, are you serious?" I was. And honestly, I wasn't even surprised. It wasn't the first time my family had treated me like an afterthought. Growing up, I had learned my place early. My younger brother Daniel was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. My sister, Sarah, was the baby of the family, showered with attention and affection. Me? I was just there. Every Christmas, I tried to bond with them. Tried to be part of the family. But somehow, I always ended up on the outside looking in. This, though? This was a new low. "They told me you weren't coming because you're too selfish," Melissa admitted, shifting uncomfortably. "They said you never do enough for the family, so they figured you wouldn't appreciate a trip anyway." I laughed again, but this time it was bitter. Selfish. That was rich coming from the people who had leaned on me for years. Who had no problem asking me to help with bills, run errands, and bail them out of trouble. Who conveniently forgot every time I put their needs ahead of mine. I could feel the heat rising in my chest, but I forced myself to stay calm. "Where are they going?" I asked. Melissa hesitated. "Hawaii. Of course. A luxury vacation. First-class flights. A 5-star resort. And they didn't even bother to tell me." Something in me snapped. I wasn't going to beg for a seat at their table. Not this time. I went home that night, sat in my apartment, and let it sink in. I should have been angry. I should have been hurt. And I was, but mostly, I was tired. Tired of pretending I was part of a family that made it clear, time and time again, that I wasn't a priority. Tired of the way they dismissed me, used me, then had the audacity to call me selfish. For a moment, I imagined calling them out. Sending a message like, "Hey, hope Hawaii's fun. Must be nice to have a family vacation without the whole family." But what was the point? They'd just brush it off like they always did. Maybe even make me feel guilty for bringing it up. No. I wasn't going to waste my energy on people who clearly didn't care about me. Instead, I did something I'd never done before. I made my own holiday plans. If they wanted to exclude me, fine. That just meant I was free to do whatever I wanted, without their drama, without their backhanded comments, without feeling like I was fighting for scraps of affection. And the best part? I wouldn't be alone. I had friends. People who actually enjoyed my company. People who didn't see me as an obligation or a last resort. I grabbed my phone and started texting. By the end of the night, I had a full Christmas itinerary. A Christmas Eve dinner with my best friend and his family. A cozy Christmas morning brunch at my coworker's place. Then a cabin trip with a few close friends to ring in the new year, snow, hot chocolate, and zero family drama. For the first time in years, I was actually looking forward to the holidays. Meanwhile, my parents had no idea that their perfect Christmas vacation was about to fall apart. A week later, I was sitting by the fireplace in my friend Mark's house, a warm cup of cider in my hands, laughing at one of his terrible jokes. Christmas lights twinkled around the living room, the smell of cinnamon and baked ham filled the air, and for the first time in years I felt at peace. No tension. No forced smiles. No pretending to be okay while being treated like an afterthought. I had almost forgotten about my parents' trip, until my phone buzzed. At first, I considered ignoring it. But then I saw the caller ID. Mom. I let it ring. A minute later, a text came through. "Call me. It's an emergency." I sighed, debating whether to respond. Then, another message popped up. "Your father is in the hospital." I sat up straight, my heart skipping a beat. But before panic could set in, another text followed. Food poisoning. The whole trip is ruined. I blinked. Food poisoning? That wasn't exactly the life or death emergency I was expecting. Curious now, I called her back. She picked up immediately, her voice frantic. Oh, thank God! I've been trying to reach you for hours. What happened? I asked, keeping my tone neutral. It's a disaster, she moaned. Everything went wrong. First, our flight got delayed, and we missed the connecting flight. We had to spend the night in the airport. Then, when we finally got here, the hotel lost our reservation. We had to pay extra for another room, and it's not even a suite. And now, she lowered her voice, your father and Daniel are in the hospital because of bad seafood. I took a sip of my cider, biting back a smirk. That's rough, I said, with zero sympathy. She huffed. That's all you have to say? That's rough? We've been suffering here while you're off doing who knows what. I raised an eyebrow. Suffering? In Hawaii? Don't be like that. She snapped. We need you to transfer some money. We've had so many unexpected expenses, and we're running out of funds. There it was. They didn't call because they missed me. They didn't call to apologize. They called because they needed something from me. I leaned back, letting the silence stretch between us. Then, finally I said, Sorry, Mom. Can't help. She gasped. What do you mean you can't help? I shrugged, even though she couldn't see me. I'm selfish, remember? That's what you told Melissa, isn't it? Dead silence. Then, in a much softer voice, she said, You heard about that? Oh, I heard everything. I could practically hear the guilt creeping into her tone. Look, sweetheart, we didn't mean. I cut her off. You meant every word. And you know what? You were right. I was selfish this year. I put myself first. And guess what? It's been the best Christmas I've ever had. She tried to say something, but I was done. Gotta go, I said cheerfully. Merry Christmas, Mom. Then I hung up. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel guilty about it. The second I hung up, my phone started buzzing again. I let it ring. Then came the texts. Mom, this isn't funny. We need you to send money. The hospital bill is outrageous. Mom, don't be like this. We're family. Mom, at least send enough to cover the hotel. We had to downgrade, and your sister is miserable. I chuckled to myself. So now I was family? I didn't reply. Instead, I turned my phone on silent, leaned back on the couch, and enjoyed the warmth of the fireplace. Mark walked over with a knowing smirk. Family drama? I exhaled, shaking my head. More like family karma. He laughed. Dude, you look way too relaxed for someone who just got a panic call from his mom. I grinned. Because for once, I don't care. And I meant it. For years, I had bent over backward for them. Always the first to help, always the one they called when they needed something. But the second I needed a little respect, a little consideration, they left me out of their perfect little Christmas. And now that their trip was falling apart, they suddenly remembered I existed? No. Not this time. I wasn't their safety net anymore. The next morning, I checked my phone, 15 missed calls, a bunch of unread texts. I sighed, figuring I should at least skim through them. Mom, we're coming home early. We land tomorrow. We need you to pick us up from the airport. I smirked. Yeah. That's not happening. Instead, I grabbed my keys and headed out for brunch with my friends. While my family was dealing with food poisoning, missed flights, and a downgraded hotel room, I was sipping hot coffee and eating homemade waffles in a cozy little cafe. It felt amazing. And tomorrow, when they landed, expecting me to roll over and forgive them, they were in for a surprise. The next morning, I woke up feeling completely refreshed. No stress, no guilt, no drama, just the quiet satisfaction of knowing I had finally put myself first. I checked my phone. Mom, we land at 4:15 p.m. Be there. Mom, we're exhausted. The least you can do is help us get home. Mom, I hope you're not planning to be petty about this. I stretched, yawned, and turned off my phone. I had plans today. Instead of driving to the airport, I spent the afternoon in the park, enjoying the crisp winter air. Then I grabbed a coffee, wandered through some local shops, and even picked up a few things for myself, something I never used to do because I was too busy saving my money in case my family needed something. By the time they landed, I was halfway through a movie with my friends, warm and comfortable, completely indifferent to whatever disaster was unfolding on their end. At around 5:30, my phone buzzed again. Melissa, dude. They are pissed. I smirked and replied, oh? What happened? Her response came almost immediately. Melissa, they had to take an expensive Uber home with all their luggage. Your dad is fuming, your mom is ranting about how you've changed, and Sarah won't stop complaining about the ride smelling like fast food. I let out a laugh. Oh no. How tragic. Melissa, you should probably lay low for a bit. I wasn't worried. In fact, I was looking forward to seeing them face to face. Because this time, I had the upper hand. The next morning, I woke up to exactly what I expected: more missed calls, more texts, and one long-winded voicemail from my mother. I hit play out of curiosity. I can't believe you would be this cruel. After everything we've done for you, after all these years of taking care of you, you couldn't even pick us up from the airport? We were exhausted, stranded, and forced to take an expensive Uber. Your father is livid, and Sarah is traumatized by the experience. You are so selfish. I hope you're happy. I chuckled. Oh, I am, Mom. I really am. I went about my morning as usual, making breakfast and enjoying my coffee in peace. No family nagging me, no guilt-tripping, no drama. Then, around noon, there was a knock at my door. I knew who it was before I even opened it. I took my time, finishing my sip of coffee, before finally unlocking the door. Sure enough, there they were, my parents and Sarah, looking exhausted, irritated, and ready to pick a fight. My dad was the first to speak. You've got some nerve. I raised an eyebrow. Good to see you too. How was the trip? Mom crossed her arms. Oh, you wouldn't know, would you? Since you weren't there when we needed you. I leaned against the doorframe, completely unfazed. You mean like how I wasn't included when you planned the trip in the first place? Their expressions shifted slightly, but they weren't ready to back down just yet. Dad scoffed. Oh, don't be so dramatic. We didn't think you'd want to come. I nodded. Right. That's why you didn't tell me at all. Why you told Melissa I was selfish and better off alone. Silence. Sarah shifted uncomfortably, looking down at her feet. Mom opened her mouth to argue, but I held up a hand. Save it. I heard everything. And you know what? You were right. They blinked. I was better off alone. I continued. Actually, I had the best Christmas I've had in years. No stress, no judgment, no being treated like an afterthought. Just me, my friends, and people who actually appreciate my company. Mom's face twitched. Oh, so we're the bad guys now? I shrugged. I didn't say that. But it's funny how you only remembered me when things started going wrong. Suddenly, I wasn't selfish anymore. I was useful. Dad's jaw tightened, and for once, he had nothing to say. I crossed my arms. So, what exactly did you come here for? An apology? No, wait, you probably just need something, right? More money? A favor? What is it this time? More silence. They had expected me to fold, to feel guilty, to beg for their approval. Instead, I stood there, completely unbothered, watching them struggle to come up with an excuse. For the first time in my life, I had the power in this conversation. And I wasn't about to let them off easy. My mom sighed dramatically, rubbing her temples like I was the one giving her a headache. Look, we didn't come here to fight. I smirked. No? Then why are you here? Dad cleared his throat. We just wanted to talk. As a family. I nearly laughed. Oh, now we're family? Sarah finally spoke up, her voice quieter than usual. Come on, let's just move on. Christmas was a mess for everyone, okay? Can't we just forget about it and start fresh? I stared at her for a moment. Sarah had always been spoiled, but she wasn't stupid. She knew how badly they had treated me. And now that they were back, miserable, sick, and probably regretting every decision they made, she wanted to smooth things over like nothing had happened? I shook my head. That's not how this works. You don't get to ignore me, exclude me, and talk about me behind my back, only to come crawling back when things go wrong. Dad's face darkened. We didn't crawl back. I raised an eyebrow. Didn't you, though? You called me 14 times from Hawaii. You showed up at my door. Sounds a lot like crawling. Mom scoffed. You're being petty. I laughed. Oh, absolutely. And I love it. She huffed, clearly getting frustrated. Fine. If that's how you feel, then we'll just go. I stepped aside and gestured toward the hallway. Be my guest. They weren't expecting that. For years, they had counted on me chasing after them, wanting their approval. But this time? I wasn't playing along. Mom hesitated. So that's it? You're really going to hold a grudge over one little mistake? One little mistake? I repeated, my voice calm. This wasn't a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to invite me to a dinner. A mistake is an accidental oversight. But this was intentional. I took a step closer, looking her straight in the eyes. You made a choice. And now you get to live with it. For the first time, my dad looked uncomfortable. Sarah swallowed hard. Mom pursed her lips, then exhaled sharply. Fine. If that's what you want. She turned and stormed off, Dad trailing behind her. Sarah lingered for a second, almost like she wanted to say something, but in the end, she just sighed and followed them out. I closed the door, locked it, and stood there for a moment. Then I smiled. For the first time in my life, I wasn't chasing after them. I wasn't begging for their love. I wasn't waiting for an apology that would never come. I was free. And it felt incredible. For the next few days, I waited for the usual cycle to continue. Normally, when my family and I had a falling out, it went like this. They get angry. Check. They guilt-trip me. Check. They ignore me until they need something. Still waiting on that one. But this time, something felt different. There were no more texts. No calls. No dramatic messages about how could you do this to us. Just silence. And you know what? I liked it. For the first time in forever, I wasn't anxiously checking my phone, dreading the next guilt trip. I wasn't feeling obligated to fix things. I wasn't carrying the weight of being the bigger person. I was just living my life. Then, on New Year's Eve, I got a text from Melissa. Melissa, just a heads up, I think your parents are about to pull something. I sighed. Of course they were. Me, what now? Melissa, I overheard them talking at Grandma's house. They're planning to invite you over for New Year's dinner like nothing happened. Like a fresh start, or whatever. Me, let me guess, no apology? Melissa, oh, obviously not. According to them, you're the one who's been dramatic. I shook my head, not even surprised. It was classic them. They wanted to brush everything under the rug, pretend like they hadn't completely excluded me from Christmas, and expect me to gratefully fall back into place. Not this time. Me, tell them I'm busy. Melissa, LOL, you should tell them yourself. Me, nah. Let them wonder. I wasn't going to entertain their little game. I already had plans for New Year's, a celebration with my friends, people who actually wanted me around. And while my parents sat around their dinner table, expecting me to walk through the door and make things right, I would be raising a glass to something else entirely. A new year. A new start. A life without their nonsense. And I'd never been more excited for anything in my life. New Year's Eve rolled around, and I didn't spare my family a second thought. Instead of sitting at a tense dinner table, pretending everything was fine, I was at a rooftop party with my friends, laughing, drinking, and actually enjoying myself. The city lights stretched out beneath us, the air was crisp but not too cold, and for the first time in years, I felt light. like I had finally dropped a weight I hadn't even realized I was carrying. As midnight approached, my phone buzzed. I glanced down. Mom. Of course. I ignored the call. Then a text came through. Mom, Happy New Year. We miss you. Hope you come to your senses soon. I laughed and shook my head. Hope I come to my senses? No, Mom. I finally have. A few minutes later, Melissa sent a text. Melissa, Almeo. Mom is sulking. Dad is mad. Sarah is just eating her feelings. They really thought you'd show up. Me, they always do. That's the problem. Melissa, they're saying you're being childish for holding a grudge. Me, oh, I'm not holding a grudge. I'm just holding on to my peace. And for the first time in my life, I meant it. As the countdown to midnight began, I lifted my glass and smiled. This was my year. No more begging for a place in a family that never made room for me. No more guilt. No more chasing after people who only cared when they needed something. 3, 2, 1. Fireworks exploded in the sky, cheers erupted all around me, and I closed my eyes, taking in the moment. This year was going to be different. Because for once, I was putting myself first. The first few weeks of the new year were quiet. No calls. No texts. No guilt trips. It was almost eerie. At first, I wondered if my parents had finally given up. If maybe, just maybe, they had taken the hint and decided to respect my boundaries. Then, in mid-January, I got a text from Melissa. Melissa, brace yourself. They're planning a family intervention for you. I nearly spit out my coffee. An intervention? For what? Melissa, they think you've lost your way, and need to be reminded that family is everything. I laughed out loud. So let me get this straight. They abandoned me for Christmas, treated me like an outsider, called me selfish, and now I'm the one who's lost my way? Melissa, YEP. I shook my head. I should have been annoyed, but honestly, I just found it hilarious. Me, let me know how that intervention goes. Without me. Melissa, oh, don't worry. I'm bringing popcorn. And that was that. I never showed up for their dramatic little intervention. I never reached out to fix things. And you know what? Nothing happened. The world didn't end. My life didn't fall apart. In fact, it got better.